Aloha! You are listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 215. This episode is sponsored by the Tiki Bar T-Shirt Club, where their monthly T-shirt designs pay tribute to a Polynesian bar or restaurant from days long past. Each design is available for a limited time and will never be produced again. For the collectors out there, be sure to check out their subscription program, where they offer a discounted 3, 6, or 12-month plan, or you can always buy shirts one at a time. For more information and to check out this month's shirt, visit tikibartshirtclub.com. This podcast is sponsored by Frogtown Brewery, an independent craft brewery and tap room located in Northeast Los Angeles. Stop in and enjoy one of their excellent beers from their ever-changing, diverse menu. Tell them that Inside the Desert Oasis Room sent you and get your first pint on us. Limitations apply. For more information, go to frogtownbrewery.com and follow them on social media at Frogtown Brewery. Today we welcome the boys from Don Papa Rum, Tomas de los Reyes and Ben Rojo. Tomas is a bartender, artist, and DJ, and one of the founding partners of Jeepney in New York City. And also from New York City comes Ben Rojo, mixologist extraordinaire and founder of Black Emperor Bar. Both extremely talented cocktailians, both instrumental in the current Filipino food movement, and both representing the iconic Filipino rum brand, Don Papa. As always, I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did bringing it to you. If you'd like to follow our adventures, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PolynesianPop, where we chronicle events, bars, travel spots, cocktail tutorials, and more. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/PolynesianPop, where membership grants you early access to podcasts and videos, front-of-the-line privileges to new merch releases, as well as exclusive content, meetups, and screen credits. Alrighty, let's get into this. Pour yourself some Don Papa rum and join us inside the Desert Oasis Room with my friends Tomas de los Reyes and Ben Rojo.
My kids, they know Don Papa rum. That's it. Are you doing a Don Papa event?
They know.
They know. So I'm already out of this world right now in this room.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Well, I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you. Thanks for saying
Trey Bizarre.
And for our listeners out there, welcome to another episode of Inside the Desert Oasis Room. We have a special night here with our friends from Don Papa, and they were kind enough to bring me some rum that is not available yet out here. So
exclusive.
Thank you for letting me taste that. Really good stuff. I'm excited that you're here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. We're sitting in this room and just talking about how I don't know if the audience is, a lot of people have seen stills and stuff. I've seen stills from the picture.
Yeah,
you can't
well,
get a sense of how well put together the room is, because you know what I mean. You're only seeing like one side of it.
That's nice of you to say. I appreciate that, Ben. Thank you so much.
Fucking cool.
Well, you know, our listeners and our viewers are pretty familiar with the room, and we've had quite a few of them here as guests, and of course guests of the podcast, which are a lot of people in the industry, and not just bar industry, but I will say like the tiki subculture as a whole. So artists and entertainers and writers, authors, musicians, that kind of thing. And then people like you guys that are actually in the rum and spirits industry. I've had the good fortune to have come here and be on the show or make cocktails for us, which, you know, I'm obviously like very blessed to be able to do this and have people here. So, and I'm blessed to have you guys here. So thank you.
Yeah.
I love that you guys you got your ear to the street, like what's happening in the bars and with that bringing the representation of the Filipino culture, people from our motherland, right?
Word.
Because of the history of the tiki cocktail and
For sure.
how much of it came from the Filipino immigrants, right? The 4 Filipinos that worked for Don's, and the carvers and the servers and everyone else in between, all the artists in between. The guy who designed Tiki Bob was Filipino,
Oh, get out of here. We were just talking about that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Filipino.
Well,
He
I was just, I can see his mug right there, and I was talking about how I just saw,
Yeah.
because they resurrected that corner or that tiki.
Yeah, they painted it and they basically restored him.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, because for years they had this Tiki Bob that was painted green because it's a crepes restaurant. And the crepes restaurant was green and yellow. It had like yellow diamonds, right? And so he was green. And of course, people in the tiki community approached them and said, "Hey, do you know who you have outside? People come out here and take pictures with him. You guys should restore him." And they did. So kudos to them for doing that. It's pretty cool.
That is rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in that neighborhood of the Tenderloin, there are some relics out there, and yeah, they just need a little bit of polishing up. And you can easily find tons of gems all through the Tenderloin, and so you got to get past all the other stuff right now. But,
Right. Well, a block away from Tiki Bob is Trader Vic's Alley, where the original San Francisco Trader Vic's was located. And it's still there. There's still a sign that says Trader Vic's Alley.
Oh,
Yeah,
I feel like, it's because I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I used to hang out all through downtown, and I feel like I've definitely walked across it, but I didn't see.
If you're at Tiki Bob, next time you're there, so if you're facing the corner and you're gonna just kind of look up at like 10 o'clock, that first alley, just walk across the street and go up to that first alley. And then you'll see it says Trader Vic's Alley. You'll know because
I feel
there's
like
a Desert Oasis Room sticker on the side.
Oh, word. Okay. Oh, okay.
We climbed up there and slapped one on there. So,
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's still there. Hopefully it's still there, but we did that a
It's
few
probably
years
still
ago.
there. Trust me.
I hope it's still there. It's up there. I mean, you had to climb up to go put it up there.
Yeah.
So there's no remnants of Trader Vic's there anymore, but if you walk through it, like I don't know which space it was, but I think one of them, like maybe it was the big one on the left, because there's a restaurant, the big one on the left. And so the original Trader Vic's was there. I have like this cable car. I don't know if it's a mug. Well, it's a ceramic thing. I think it held bar napkins.
Oh,
because
okay.
it's squarish. It's right over there on that shelf. From that San Francisco Trader Vic's.
Oh, this is actually
wild.
an authentic piece.
Yeah.
So, like, what?
like
I mean,
those.
What's your best guess of when that was made?
Best guess, I don't know. Maybe 60s.
That's
maybe
rad.
70s. So, again, best guess. So, but I'm glad you guys are here. I want to highlight you guys because, man, you guys were doing some crazy stuff out in New York. So for all the people that don't know, right, I want to have them hear about you guys are entrepreneurs. Like, you guys are out here representing Don Papa now, but you guys are entrepreneurs, right? So who should I start with? We're going to do this like...
I'll definitely start with Kuya. I feel like I wouldn't have done half the stuff I did if he hadn't been there blazing the trail before.
All right, I love it. So for our listeners that don't know what Kuya means, that is a Filipino term for like big brother. And we're gonna talk to our friend Tomas then. Tomas de los Reyes,
Boom.
the man with a plan, the one and only.
Tomas moves.
Tomas moves.
Kuya
Tomas
slash
moves.
Manong.
I love it.
OG
You know,
Big Kuya.
The
Tomas.
OG from NYC that ran Jeepney.
Yeah. Oh. Filipinos, they're all up in the hip hops too.
Love it. So tell us about your background. How did you start Jeepney, or what led you to Jeepney? Where were you before that and all that stuff?
All right, I'm gonna try to give you the cliff notes because
Yeah, you did everything out there, man.
I kind of like talking about myself, but I really don't. Trust me.
Now's the time.
Okay, how much time do you got? I know. It took me long enough to get here through traffic, so I might as well use that much time to just dump it all on the table. Anyways, been bartending I've been bartending roughly since the early 90s. Started off in San Francisco as a bar back in one of the most legendary nightclubs in San Francisco.
Okay.
It's called DV8.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that from here, from LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was this beautiful club. It's definitely legendary. Shit, man, they had 4 floors and a basement.
Wow.
There was so much going on in this nightclub. The owner was this infamous character, Dr. Winky.
Okay.
Married to, I think she was a millionaire or billionaire. It was ridiculous. There was a lot of rich Asians that would hang out there. Anyways,
crazy rich Asians.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy rich Asians. I was all over.
Were they crazy?
I don't know. I know it's explicit, but I don't know about how much I can tell you on the mic without getting in trouble.
Give it all.
Yeah, someone will probably come back around. Hey, I heard that on the Desert Oasis room.
Keep it anonymous.
You weren't supposed to talk about that. Bye. Anyways, so I started off there. That's really where I got my taste of bartending. But I have to say, it took me 3 years, almost 3 years, from being a bar back, because I was a badass bar back.
Nice.
Actually
You were a bar back for 3 years.
Dude, that was my first taste of the industry, was being a bar back for 3. And like I said, I was a badass bar back.
Yeah.
And
it's like gold.
yeah, and then because great bar backs are hard to find, they wouldn't promote me. So finally someone gave me a chance. And that's where I started bartending. Anyways, did a little stint in LA after that. Then it wasn't until I moved to New York in 2003 where I left. I was in retail, so for the most part I was in retail for a long time.
What brought you to New York in the first place?
What brought me to New York was life, honestly. I was kind of bored. I grew up in San Francisco, did the whole nightclub scene.
And you just thought, like, you know what, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna go to New York.
Yeah. Well, I shot down to LA because I thought I was gonna get into acting, and I was interested in that. And I was studying theater and blah blah blah. LA wasn't my thing, and I moved back to San Francisco for a second, just having fun, not really having any direction in life. And I caught a wave because a girlfriend of mine, she said, I'm thinking about moving to New York. My mom is scared of, me moving by myself. What are you up to these days? It was such a random conversation. Right. And I actually didn't have anything really going on. So she offered to pay my way to New York.
Oh, nice.
Whoa. She covered all the expenses. I got to move into an apartment for free. And I just had to pay rent. I just get on the plane, get yourself a plane ticket, get there, and move to New York with me. I was like, fuck, cool, let's go.
And if there's any time, like you're young,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You're kind of still trying to figure out what you're gonna do.
Oh, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Right, so like that's the time. That's when you go.
But when I moved to New York, because I left 4 years of working luxury retail, I moved to New York knowing that I wanted to do 2 things. I was gonna continue to DJ because I fell in love with DJing, but then I also knew I wanted to bartend. I wanted to officially bartend. And
before this, you were bar backing. So this was your...
No, I was, after I was bar backing, I got a couple bartending shifts here and there throughout San Francisco. I did a little bit in LA. But I never found anything that stuck. So it was always there, but I didn't really land anything solid until I moved to New York.
Right.
Yeah. So I moved to New York, and that's where, during that time I moved, was when, it was like back in 2003, was when this whole cocktail renaissance thing started.
Yeah, that was when it was starting, 2003.
Yeah, so the cocktail renaissance kicked in. And I happened to be around a lot of young bartenders that were being influenced by you had that one legend, Dale DeGroff, who was really, he was godfather of the cocktail resurrection road, the revolution. But I also worked at a restaurant that encouraged me to explore flavors, and I didn't really know much about bartending other than I can make a badass Long Island.
Yeah. And back
Oh,
then,
you go to Long Island? I got you with the Cosmo, and I did when I was bartending in LA for that little bit. I was there right when the apple martini hit.
Oh God, I remember when that was a thing, man.
Dude, so I was
that apple martini.
Our prep. So we did our prep. Our prep was, all the basic prep, like your mise en place and all that shit.
Yeah.
So you set up. That took a few minutes, but I had to cut full apples.
Like fans?
Not fans, but just
But
sections.
You weren't using those for flavor. They were
that was a garnish.
Yeah.
So we spent more time cutting apple garnishes because we were banging out so many apple martinis. Yeah. Anyways.
Because it's funny it's like you look at it now and you cringe at what's in an apple martini, man. Like
They're fun though.
I mean, yeah.
You know what? But the girls liked them, right? Because back then, like all the company Christmas parties, everybody's
liked
drinking.
them.
Yeah.
Super simple,
Yeah.
but man, we were just going through so many of those, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. Okay. Where are we at? Timekeeper? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, yeah, I got introduced to the cocktail culture, and I started getting serious about it. And also, I talk about this a lot. It's being at the right place at the right time, but also being prepared.
Yeah.
Is really important because once I got turned on to this whole cocktail thing, I wasn't necessarily a bartender who focused on the history and all that. Although I did later, I started digging into it. It was more of what was happening now, what flavors were popping right now.
Right.
The whole, the restaurant I worked in focused on a lot of, it was an Australasian restaurant.
Australasian.
Yeah. So Australian, New Zealand influence by Asian flavors.
And Asian flavors.
Yeah.
So you're talking about was Public?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man,
So I used to bartend at Public. That's where really I really cut my teeth at Public, and that exposed me to the industry. But it also exposed me to a lot of brand people.
Okay.
Because in any
spot.
Yeah, in any city now, if you work at the hottest spot, most likely they're going to be brand people or sales reps that are going to, they're going to want to know who these bartenders are. They just, it's our job to make friends with the hot bartenders that are doing really cool stuff or really cool bartenders. So I was exposed to that. And I started building, I realized there was value in this culture and value in this network. So, I used these places that I would work in New York as my platform to build my network. And then so I started working with brands. I started doing events, blah, blah, blah. But what's really relevant in this conversation was, at some point I met a few other Filipinos.
Yeah.
Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are all Filipinos sitting here right now.
Filipino connections.
There is some serious Asian
right now.
Serious Asian persuasion happening right now.
That's right.
You better watch out, girl. Lock up your daughters. We're coming. We're coming
out,
for
girl.
you.
Watch out,
coming
girl.
for you. So, anyways, yeah. So I met. Yeah. So I started bartending, but there weren't any other Filipinos in New York bartending at the time. Actually, no. I take that back. There was one. And that one bartender who happened to be Filipino as well, that's when we started using mixologist,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That term's almost,
the mixologist term started popping up.
that term's almost like,
It's
it's just played out, right?
Yeah, it will. You know what? It still pays.
Yeah.
Hey, it still pays. It's still a term everyone uses.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I met this guy. We became friends naturally because we were the only Filipinos in this, running around this whole scene. And then eventually, he opened a Filipino restaurant, Maharlika. I'll name drop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he
Okay.
ended up opening Maharlika with the other partners.
I know Maharlika.
Yeah, the other partners that were involved too, and I met them, and it was cool for me because it was cool to find other Filipinos at the time because I didn't really know many Filipinos in New York.
Right. You know how I know Maharlika? I think I seen it in a couple YouTube videos.
Oh yeah. There was a bunch of stuff. Yeah, and it was one of
that's where they would go. Like if they say they want, let's try some authentic Filipino food, or let's, like the food bloggers and stuff would go there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maharlika, I started connecting with them. I was hanging with them since their pop-up before they even opened a brick and mortar. And it was ground zero for the Filipino food movement.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I see where you're going now.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because I felt connected with them as Filipinos and I saw what they were doing, I was like, oh, okay. This is where me not hanging around with so many Filipinos, now I had a place where I was like, oh, okay. Now I can start reconnecting.
Right.
Because I think we all grew up as Filipinos. We might have grown up around a lot of Filipinos, but there was this whole different mentality of.
I've always been like that out here.
Well, I think there's an emphasis on assimilation when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Especially when your parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And that's it. It's assimilation. You know, it's like for me growing up, right, I was always looking for my tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter where I was, I never really felt like I was in. Because the thing about us, right, is, you know, we grew up here in the States. So you go to the Philippines, they're like, oh, you're not really Filipino, you're from the States.
Oh,
Yeah.
But then here in the States,
100%.
you're not really American because you're brown.
Yeah.
You know, because you're immigrants.
Yes.
Right. So like you live in this like gray space, right? So
Totally.
no matter like if you hang out with people that don't look like you, they're like, what's wrong with you? You know, how come you don't hang out with your own kind?
Yeah.
You know, then you hang out with your own kind, and they're like, what's wrong with you? You live in America. You should be like, you know, you should be with other people. Like, you know, diversity. What's wrong with your diversity? You know, like you can't win. You know, no matter where it is. So like, you know, me growing up out here too, it was like, who were my tribe? You know, like, do I hang out with other Filipinos, and do I get lumped into this like, you know, to this thing where like I'm categorized and I'm I'm what's the word I'm looking for?
Pigeonholed?
Yeah, pigeonholed or like whatever this, you know, I can't think of the word, but like, anyway, the word will come to me. Stereotyped.
Yes.
I'm stereotyped. Or do I assimilate with my multicultural friends who I don't really fit in with because, and this is no diss to them, but like I'm not Indian or I'm not Hispanic. Like I don't really fit in, but am I supposed to assimilate with them because I'm in America? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't have a place, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying because even in this tiki world, and it's like that. Like I do this whole lecture about like the history of Filipino immigrants and Filipino influence in tiki, but where the hell are they all?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So like it's like really just us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what was cool about connecting with you and knowing that you were giving that presentation it felt like a full circle moment.
For me.
Yeah.
For me too.
It also validated the work that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll finish my story.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. It's just, I just want to get over talking by myself. I just want to get it done.
You're good, man. You're good.
Everyone's on the edge of their seat.
People want to hear your story, bro. People want to hear your story.
So, anyways, yeah. So they, Maharlika was a thing. It definitely broke some ground, and then not too much longer after that, I had the opportunity to jump in on the next concept. And actually, I was a financial investor on top of, the sweat equity, the blood, sweat, and
You're
tears.
one of the founding partners.
Yeah, of Jeepney.
Jeepney.
Yeah, in the East Village in Manhattan. And that was a fucking ride.
It was a fun program, too.
I love that.
That was a ride.
Longanisa, was Longanisa Sazerac that you had on? Or was that later? Did that come later?
Dude, I gave Jello that recipe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm like, yo.
I love that drink, dude.
It was my because when that cocktail came out, I was working with Hennessy. And my favorite cocktail still to this day would be a cognac Sazerac. One of my favorites, I should say, one of my favorites. Anyways, yeah, so I was able to explore flavors and not just flavors. It was Okay, so it was flavors like the ampalaya.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like, bring
Wow.
that out.
Yeah.
Bring that out.
Let me start by saying, too, I love the name, right? Jeepney.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess for our listeners that aren't familiar with that, right? I mean, I don't know how familiar
Yeah.
people
So I'm sorry to our listeners that are not familiar, because as a Filipino American, I assume that people know these things, but a jeepney is a vehicle that was brought over for the war effort,
Yeah.
right? When the Americans were in the
military.
Philippines for World War II, and they left them there after the war was over. These were jeeps. These were utility vehicles that
were
were
retrofitted.
retrofitted
Yeah,
and turned into
Philippine
public
engineering.
transportation, right? So
Public, but private owned.
Privately owned.
Yeah.
So families
Privately owned,
got the
yes.
opportunity to start a business in transportation, and I'm gonna jump in because I used to have to
jump
talk
in.
about this a lot. Anyhow, but the recovered military jeeps were taken over by small families, or to decorate, and they were super flamboyant.
Super flamboyant.
Yeah, the paint jobs, the artwork,
Every single one's a custom
the
job.
lights. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So Google that. Google Jeepney, and you'll see. Google Jeepney and click on
Go to
images.
image search,
dude, and you'll
it's
see.
crazy, it's wild.
And I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so that was a fun ride, man. And you know what? It also was cool because I didn't after we opened, I didn't have to go too far to tap into my culture.
Yeah.
Because we created a culture hub.
Yeah. Now, you guys, were you doing authentic food? Were you doing fusion? Were you doing your own take on some of the authentic dishes?
Love and hate those questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure every Filipino American restaurateur loves and hates those questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so the truth is, it is authentic. The food was authentic to who was making it. And that's always going to be the answer, because the challenge is that Filipino Americans love to chismes and love to, there's that's part of the culture too. That's why there's a restaurant named after it, right? In New York. Anyhow, the biggest complaint or the biggest challenge, I should say, is that there would be Filipinos that would call it inauthentic, mainly because it didn't taste like their moms,
grandmas, yeah.
their lolas, their
Right,
dads, or
right,
whatever.
right.
And that's not the point of opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
It will never be authentic to that person because they're not cooking it.
I have an opinion / perspective about authentic / inauthentic / fusion.
Yeah.
So my thought is, I love the authentic cooking, right? Of course, I'm going to love the authentic cooking, but I also love creativity. I love
Yes.
seeing what someone does with a traditional dish and elevating it. That's why I love craft cocktails. I don't drink craft cocktails to get drunk. I could do that with a tequila shot. I love
Getting
the
drunk's just a bonus.
right? I love the creativity of a well thought out, well balanced cocktail with a story or coming. It's artisan work for me. It's like gourmet cooking, right? So I love fusion when it's done well, and I love that. Authentic, inauthentic, I don't care. This is the thing that bugs me about fusion.
Mm-hmm.
People that are not Filipino, they won't try it a lot of times unless it's like, oh, there's this new Filipino fusion place. We should go check it out.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's an authentic one down the street that's been there for 30 years. Have you
Right.
been?
Right.
You know, like they'll only try it unless it's like some new trendy, place with with the lights and the glitter and the all-star bartender. It's almost insulting to me. It's just like, is our authentic food not good enough for you?
I think it's a tricky thing, but I think those attitudes are changing. I think a lot of the xenophobia that surrounds what it is to be Filipino, a lot of the mysticism around it. I think people over the past few years, just Americans in general and broader society, it seems like people are more interested in what like our culture has to offer. I mean, just by a numbers game, if you grew up on either one of the coasts, odds are you probably have a couple Filipino friends at this point.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, I think there's been a real.
It's just
kinda-
it's just one of these things that and I love that ube is out there now, right? Every bar's got an ube cocktail.
Trader
but-
Joe's has like 3 or 4 items with ube in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But what really bugs me is that, you know, they think that's just this new thing that they discovered. You know, oh yeah, like I was in the Philippines, so I'm gonna make this ube cocktail now because I was there and I had ube, and I'm thinking like, you know what? Like I remember when I was younger and people making fun of that bright purple cupcake that I had in my bought one, right? And it's just like, you know, this is from my culture. Why are you laughing at me? You know, like, and then now, like 30, 40 years later, you want to make a cocktail with it because you just discovered it. You know,
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
So,
maybe I'm being
there's a
too
curve.
sensitive. Maybe I'm being too.
No, that's real. I mean, I
It's a
feel
little
like we all have
trauma
those
there. I
moments
can
when-
feel the trauma. I can feel the trauma.
I mean,
It comes from me not always feeling like I
Yeah,
never
no,
fit in.
no, I hear you.
You know,
I know, I totally get that. But it's just one of those things at the end of the day, you know, when it comes to ube, you know, they're using our word, right? And there's I mean, there's a lot that comes with the idea of, you know, even if it took a while for people to catch on, there is an acknowledgement, there's an interest through the lens of our cuisine that you're getting people more interested than they would have been. Because I feel like even when I was growing up, I'm a little younger than you guys, but it's the default thing is just like, oh, I don't know what that is. Like, I'll dismiss it, right? Or I don't have any interest in that. Whereas now, I think especially with young people, you see that there's a lot more like kind of curiosity about Filipino culture, about just all the
and
different
you know, and we live in
cultures different than they grew up.
We live in a
with.
different world now, like with internet.
Yeah,
people are
that's the
exposed
thing. It's
to
made
other
the world a lot
cultures a lot
smaller.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a lot of cultural pride now
Yes.
with Filipinos. I think that's really important.
And I think that's something that, you know, I got to say one of the silver linings of quarantine, not to be insensitive to, you know, all of the loss and suffering that happened as a result of you know, the pandemic and everything, but like, you know, everybody, the world stopped for a second, everybody had some time, and I think that people, at least me observing other people, it seemed like there was a lot more ownership that people started taking about, you know, their heritage and questions of, you know, where they come from, where their ancestors came from. Like, and not to say that's defining and the only factor in who they are, but I think a lot more people, especially here in the States, like took ownership over it, acknowledged it, took ownership over it, and then they started to take pride in it. You know what I mean? And that's like a really cool thing. And you see all of these faces in entertainment, in the music industry, and like all of the arts. It's like
Love it.
It's awesome. It's like I mean, when I was a kid, I feel like there was I remember there was Ernie Reyes Jr. and
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, remember that
Turtles
guy?
too. Yeah, I was like, oh, that guy. I don't. And then
And
there's
Dante
Rufio.
Bosco?
Yeah, Dante Bosco, and like which you know
Yes.
who.
Shout out to the Bosco family.
Yeah,
right.
so rad.
But now we got Manny Pacquiao and Lea Salonga and like
so
and
more.
Bruno Mars, man. So
Yeah,
so
all these artists. I mean, there's Olivia Rodrigo. There's her. There's all. It's like, I mean,
Yes.
and what's Saweetie? There's like It's, you can't
and
throw.
Tomas de los Reyes from Jeepney.
Somewhere out there. Oh, yo, shout out to Guap Dad.
Yeah,
Guap
dude,
Dad
he's
4000.
nice, man. Like that. He's from the Bay, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was like during quarantine.
Oh yeah, Pilo.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like Filipino people are like more and more visible as Philams, and it's like it's cool. It's cool because you know you grow up, you don't see yourself on TV, you don't see yourself on movies,
Right.
you don't see yourself represented, right? And that's unmistakably, unquestionably, that's changed since we were younger.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what
we
I
can do a lot of shout outs on this too. You know, this
Oh, yeah, let's do this.
mean?
Just kidding.
Get it right
Yeah, let's
for
do the
our
shout outs.
set,
Why not?
Like-
Right? Let's give them their place in the sun. So I didn't mean to interrupt you about
That's
the
all good.
Jeepney story. So tell us more about that because
Oh,
It's-
wait, just to stay on this tangent for a second. I feel
Yeah.
like, you know, the question of authenticity, you know, I mean, that's
Yes,
certainly one
yeah.
thing.
I
but,
feel like we still need to.
yeah, like, I mean, for me, it's always been, you know, authenticity can be great. It's not the only factor. I think more important to me is sincerity, right? It's like the idea of like,
Sure.
is this person or these people, are they putting forth something that they feel good about, that resonates with them, and that's something they're trying to share with other people, right? Whether it's because their neighbor whose house they went over as a kid was Filipino, or their grandma was Filipino, or it's just something that they had a trip and that really made an impact on them. Right. What matters, to me at least, I think more is like, is this person doing this
intent?
Yeah, it's like, is this coming from their heart? And like whether it's food or drinks or anything else, is, you know what I mean? Like,
or are they trying to exploit a new trend?
Sure,
right?
Yeah. So it's like, the idea of, it's not this black and white dichotomy between what's old and what's new. It's just like, does this person really give a shit or not? You know what I mean? And that's I think you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on all that, when you talk about authentic and inauthentic, what does authentic mean to you? As part of our thought process back then, what does authentic mean to you? It means home cooked, but in a lot of ways it meant some of these mom and pop restaurants, but also the steam table, the turo,
yeah,
right? These are the turo is the steam table restaurants that you would pull up to. So you think if that is your idea of authenticity in Filipino food, then that's where the challenge was.
Yeah,
because
that's a modern convention too, right? Like, how long have turos existed, either here or abroad? You know what I mean? Like 100 years ago, did they have that? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's a part of the culinary history of Filipino and how it's presented. But
things are always changing.
Yeah,
right.
things.
When I was a kid, I remember one of my memories from the Philippines was the taho guy.
Oh yeah,
so he would ring the doorbell. So he'd ring the doorbell and he'd have a stick over his shoulder and he'd have a bucket on each side, hanging from each side of the stick. And I think he had taho on one side and he had ginatan on the other side.
Oh, wow.
And I would point, like, I remember we'd open the door and it was like the ice cream man here.
Yeah.
So the ice cream man comes going down the street and you just get excited that this guy's selling dessert in your neighborhood. Yeah. Door to door.
Walking around in flip-flops, shorts, a tank top, and a bamboo.
Yeah, so that was always
hanging over.
Cool, So yeah, that's a form of, like, toro, right? You're pointing like which one you want.
Well, I would always get stoked about, and this is weird, I was a weird kid, but like the balut guy when I was
the balut guy.
So my mom's dad, my lolo, and then my dad. That's they didn't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, but the one thing is, like, whenever the balut guy came around, they'd be like, "Yeah, we're getting down on this." And then I was like, "What is this stuff?"
You guys need to understand what balut is.
It's
I think a lot of our listeners know, because
in the that's this perfect complete. Oh, it's so good.
Something I used to do every year on my birthday
best when you're drunk,
at Tiki
best when you're hungover.
Yeah.
Yes. So something I used to do on my birthday every year at Tiki T was I would bring balut with me. So I started with a dozen, right? And so I have this thing in my head that I live by. It's called you versus yourself. What it means is that we're mostly self-defeating, right? The reason why we don't do something or we don't achieve something is because we talk ourselves out of it. Or fear.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Fear of failure or whatever it is always comes from inside first. So I would do this exercise where I would bring a dozen balut on my birthday to Tiki T. And a lot of people would be like, "Oh God, like, wow, I can't." Or even days before, they'd say, "Oh, I can't," and I'm like, "Dude, you've already lost, and I don't even have it. It's not even going to be here until Friday or whatever, right?"
Do the boohens
because
get
they've
down?
already. Well, I'll get into that.
Out.
They've already psyched themselves out. They've already failed themselves.
So yourself.
The first time I did it, I brought a dozen, and then the last egg wasn't eaten until maybe 11 o'clock at night. So for those that don't know, balut is it's a fertilized duck egg. It's a duck egg that's been steamed, and so it's cooked. So you're not eating a raw egg, but the fetus is still inside the egg. And it's really a mind over matter. That's the whole point of you versus yourself, because if you eat a balut, if you close your eyes, you wouldn't know that you're eating a fetus. It tastes like a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like so much more delicious. It's just
It's got more flavor.
There's a little extra to it.
Richer, a little soup in there.
It's got broth. Yeah, it's
like
the best.
all you need is a pinch of
Yeah, it's
salt.
good.
And you're in heaven,
So
man.
especially if it's freshly steamed, right? So in the
Yeah.
Philippines, so here in the States, right, or specifically California, you walk out of a bar, there's a taco cart on the sidewalk. In the Philippines, it's a balut cart.
Yeah.
And so in the Philippines, it's a delicacy. It's drinking food. It's daily stuff, right?
Got
So
electrolytes.
so I would do this on my
Filipino
birthday.
Gatorade.
and that first year, it would last until like 11 o'clock at night, 1 dozen. And after like 5 or 6, 7 years, it was I'd be bringing in 2 dozen, and it'd be all gone in the first 30 minutes because my friends knew that like, oh yeah, that's nothing. Give me one of those. I'll do one of those with you. And we'd all go outside and we'd all line up for a photo. We'd all do the balut together. And sometimes they'd ask for hot sauce or they'd ask for whatever, right?
That's usually-
I don't care I don't care what it takes for you to take it down, but the fact that like you did it because it's my birthday tradition was flattering to me, right?
Yeah.
And I've had friends that like looked at me and said, "You know what? I'm doing this because I'm your friend, but the truth is, I hate it every year. I hate when we do this every year, but at least I can do it, And like, yeah, because it's just it's just an egg. It's like a cooked egg, right? So, so that's what the balut is. And so like they're probably like listening to these guys that were all like, oh yeah, oh.
You know what? Don't knock it till you try it.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So
It's just, it's sad that they put it on Fear Factor.
well, the thing too about Fear Factor is that they serve all the food that they make them eat in the worst possible way.
yeah.
So I think so they'll say like, oh, you're eating like balls, or you're eating cow intestine or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think they just boil it with no. Well, it's not a dish, right?
Yeah, it's just a thing. They've turned it into a thing.
just enough to not make them sick.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing is,
exactly.
what was it? It was like the 90s. It's like it wasn't the most
It's
diverse
TV,
cast,
right?
you know what I mean?
They want
it's
the
shock value that played on
yeah.
like xenophobia that was just based on unfamiliarity, right? That's all it was.
yeah.
But I don't know.
We keep interrupting Tomas.
Oh yeah.
No. Hey, I don't know what else to say. It's
I never made it over to Jeepney. I always wanted to go there.
It was a vibe, man.
yeah. So
Especially year one. That place was.
Oh yeah, it was.
super
Oh, it
fun.
was so much fun.
So you guys knew each other out there?
Yeah. We knew each other in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's a whole other story to why we're
yeah.
sitting here together right now too.
Well,
So
I'll get
that's
into that. I'll get into that.
yeah. I'll let you. But you were talking about cocktails, and I mean, we can have a whole session on Ben and his cocktail background, his cocktail style, his presentation style.
We can talk about that when we film a video.
Yeah.
So let's talk
sure.
about Ben's story because, like I'm really impressed by you guys, like the entrepreneurship coming from you guys. I know that Ben was a restaurant owner as well.
Well, I think a lot of that has to, part of that is, whether consciously we acknowledge it or not. There's a certain thing where, like, again, growing up, like brown folks in this country, children of immigrants, there's certain things where, like, I don't know if I can't just speak if like the experience was the same for you guys or for everyone, but for me it was one of those things where it's just I always felt like every room I was in I was just getting kind of sized up a little differently.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things. There's always a question of like I was always the other guy in a room, at least for most of my childhood. I remember, as a kid there was one time we were playing at my friend's house. We must have been second or third grade. My friends, I don't remember, we were playing Manhunt or something, and then two of my friends, they like locked themselves in their parents' car. There's 4 of us out there. We're kind of like all just, like slapping on the windows, just like, just being kids and stuff like that. And then there was like one of the panels got pushed in, not even on the side of the car that I was on. I don't want to name any names because I'm still, I still know some of my childhood friends, but mom comes home, she sees like one of the panels pushed in, and she's like immediately beelines right to me and is like, what did you do? I'm just like, I didn't do that.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? This whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, my parents got called. I'm like furious. I'm like, I didn't do that shit. Like, and my dad comes over. Like, he was at the time he he and his brother had started a business at that point. He was working in banks and he hated it. He had to save some money up. Him and his brother opened like an import-export store with a Turo actually. My dad's helped.
Wait, like a Johnny Air?
Yeah, but in Passaic, it's called Maharlika Orient.
Okay.
It was like it had to have been 6 times the size of Johnny Air. Not that I love Johnny Air, but it's like it's
East
tiny.
Coast, East Village.
Real
Yeah.
estate is not inexpensive, but
Yeah, Johnny Air is a legendary little Filipino grocery in the East Village, and
All right.
Main State's
Yeah.
been there. It's got to have been there 40 years or something.
Cool
like that.
people.
Yeah, super nice. But yeah, my dad he comes like they're on the phone. My friend's mom's yelling, like his dad comes home. They're both like screaming at me, like, oh yeah, what the like I didn't fucking do it. My friends meanwhile just standing there like twiddling their thumbs, like no one's saying a word because they don't want to get in trouble. But my dad comes up, he goes up, like he's like wait in the car. I see them through the window. My friend's parents are John, and I see him peel off a couple like hundreds out of like whatever he had in his pocket, and he just like hands it to them, beelines to the car. I'm just like, Dad, why did you pay
wait,
them?
what?
Yeah, I'm just like, Dad, I didn't do that. Just like one thing you gotta realize is like if you like you gotta be aware of where you are, and I'm like, and it's like, he knew that it was a hard thing for me to take. It was just like, if you're sometimes you're just gonna get blamed for stuff, and you can't just don't put yourself in those situations. It was like, oh, what the hell? You know what I mean? That was the first time I like took my Americanness with a grain of salt. I must have been like 8 or 9.
Dude, that's crazy.
And so that was a pretty formative experience to me. It led to me acting out in other ways, getting pretty hot-headed. I got in a lot of fights when I was a kid. But that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? Just like but basically I grew up in Jersey, part of a big Catholic family. I only say that because everyone had a lot of kids. Right. My dad's one of 7. 5.
That's how my parents were. My mom had 5 siblings. My dad had 6.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
My dad's family, I think, was it 4 or 5? 4 of his siblings married like New Jersey Italians, but there were 17 or 18. There's 18 of us first cousins.
Wow.
So we were like big family. It was cool. We all grew up like super close to each other. We knew each other. Like we were seeing each other probably when I was really little, every week, if that. But yeah, I grew up in Jersey. I went to high school in New York for a little bit. Finished high school in Jersey. Went to Rutgers. School was whatever. But I went on a scholarship. I very quickly did not have that scholarship anymore, and so I started bartending when I was 18. And from there, I finished school, put myself through, and I got like my first adult quote unquote job in Manhattan, working in Soho with a. Do you guys remember the Japanese denim company Ebisu?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first job out of college. I was working in marketing for them. I was like, there's this. Oh, thank you very much, Adrian. This men's, I guess it was mostly menswear. This website called Super Future. Again, going back to me being a weird kid, got super into Japanese repro denim when I was like in high school. Couldn't afford it, but as soon as I started making money, that's something I got real into. And then I don't know. I did it for a while. It was fun. I was there for about a year. I was still bartending on the weekends. First, it was just Fridays. Then it was Fridays and Saturdays, and it was just like I found myself looking forward to the weekend. Not because, I was off of work, but because I was going to go work behind the bar, right?
So you just enjoyed bartending.
Oh, I loved it.
Was it the creativity? What was it? Was it the camaraderie with customers?
It was definitely it was the people. I mean, I found my voice creating cocktails like later in my life, but dude, I'll tell you, like when I was 18, working in Jersey, Somerset, New Jersey, working at an Italian restaurant. Wood tablecloth during the days, and I do doubles, and then there was a Spanish tapas bar in the basement, I changed my shirt from a white shirt to a
I
black
heard
shirt.
loincloth and Spanish topless bar.
I did too. I was like, wow.
Did a lot of things for money.
At
when I was,
18.
no, but I'll tell you the first cocktail I remember making, like, because I was not counting like white wine spritzers with Cabot, Pinot Grigio and stuff, but like I remember my first shift downstairs. I'm setting up the bar. I don't know why on earth they decided to leave me by myself, but it was my first day. And the first dude comes in, it's right across from this courthouse. He sits down, I'll have a martini. I'm like, okay, yeah, I have my Mr. Boston's in the back, you know, I'm like going through, it's like, oh, okay. I like go and find this crusty ass bottle of dry vermouth, probably been there. It's like half full, probably been there for, I don't know, since the bar opened, maybe longer.
It's going for authenticity right here. Authenticity.
And I'm like, oh man, like I'm looking at the different gins. And he's like, kid, what are you doing? I said I want a martini. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And he's like, a martini is 5 ounces of Kettle One, and you shake it until there's snow on top. I'm like, yeah, okay, I could do that. So, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say mixology was sort of like this was.
I've never had a martini like that.
Oh, in Jersey in 2004, that's 100% what a martini was.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I was drinking those in LA in 2000.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
And you know, I mean, I got into it. It was like I just liked I've always been a night owl. And the bar was just a fun thing because you meet new people every single day, and that was one of those things that was so exhilarating for me. So then I, from there, did the menswear thing for a little bit. After about a year, there's one day I was just like, you know what? I think I'm done with this. I walked down on Friday and just never came back. I started to get real serious about working in bars. I worked all over. When I first moved to New York, I guess I was working in Williamsburg mostly. Did some time in Park Slope, working in like whatever bars or restaurants would give me a shot. My friends opened this bar called Blueprint in Park Slope. That was super fun. That was my first foray into like real like drink design. And then I guess I'd been out and on the just going to events and learning about stuff for a little while. And my friend and I guess one of my mentors, Shingo, he was running the bar at Angel Share at the time, and he's like, hey, you should come work for us.
I know that bar too.
Yeah, that place was
legendary.
Yeah.
Wait, how did you get Shingo to be your mentor?
Shingo, he found me, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know what it was. It was a lot
Match.com was in Philly.
Yeah. But it was, I don't even recall the first time we met, but it was, it must have been at some industry event, and there's always a million of those in New York, so.
Another legend in industry.
Okay.
Yeah,
who's like ridiculously killing it globally.
Okay.
Dude, he's got like fucking 10 bars now. He launched a shochu. He's doing really well.
So having him as a mentor is
it definitely informed a lot of how I do things in my relationship with the industry. And then I guess I the first few times he asked me, I was like, no, I don't know, dude. Like, and there was, it's just I knew that it would entail starting over again because it's this sort of like Tokyo style bar that's existed in New York for, I guess the original location closed last year, but it was there for 30 years. They're doing a pop-up in Midtown right now, and they're reopening in the West Village. But
oh, they are nice.
Yeah, it's like it's cool, and like it's a lot of my my super close friends and juniors that are kind of leading the charge right now. So I'm super proud of them and the things they're doing. But it's just one of those things. Like my mom's mom was like ethnically Japanese, and that was weird for her, weird for my mom. But it's like he grabbed this kernel. He's like, yeah, you're part Japanese. You should just work here. I'm just like, that's not a good reason, but like.
I mean, it was almost exclusive Japanese for a long time, right?
Yeah, there was.
Oh,
it was almost for the first 15 years or so, or 20 years maybe. That was all that, and then. There's a few people. There was my friend Kong, who's from Thailand, and then GN started before me. He's from Taiwan. I was the first American-born person there, as far as I know.
Yeah.
But I was there for like 5 years. I was doing I got really into drink authoring then. That's where you and I first really started getting close. So at this point, I guess Jeepney had opened in the East Village. You started working for LVMH, and yeah, man, like I feel like I totally looked up to you and the stuff because I feel like I was still cutting my teeth. I was still figuring out my space in this whole world. And I feel like your name kept coming up, and it was just one of those things where the more I talked to you, I was like, oh, well, you did this and you did this. And I feel like you were someone that I feel like I came to just ask a lot of questions to. And in terms of like, I had no concept of how, like any of the, like that like next level of bar operation worked in terms of like, you know, just working all the angles and all that stuff. And also, I mean, I feel like you definitely opened a lot of doors in the sense that like you were someone that was there in New York, a bartender that people knew and like had notoriety, whereas there really hadn't been anything like that before, I don't think.
I think again, it was it was part of the Filipino thing.
Yeah.
You know,
and I mean that was one of the things for us, you know, because at the end of the day, the New York bar industry is big, but it's super small. You know, people who are really doing shit, there's like only a handful. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like exclusive or anything like that, because it's not. But it's like in terms of people who give a shit.
Yeah.
There's not too many people, right? And then so having you there and having someone that like, you know, I knew I shared all this stuff in common with and had these experiences and had been there before, like just knowing that you had been there and you'd done stuff like that meant a lot to me. And just like, oh, in terms of opening my mind to the stuff that I could potentially do, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, it was huge. Like you took me to Scotland for the first time. I was there.
That was crazy.
That was a super fun trip. And I mean, you know what I mean? Like it really wasn't long before I really started even internally considering you. You were my kuya, right? And like I feel like if I had a question about how this worked or what I should do, you were one of the first people that I would talk to about that stuff. And yeah, and for us working with Don Papa, it was you had met AJ, as I understand, on vacation a few years before, and one of our brand's co-founders, like it's the Don Papa is created by Stephen Carroll and AJ Garcia, and I met them through Tomas, because Tomas, you met AJ back in
2013 in Manila. This is when Don Papa.
That's when it started.
When they just started, they were doing some events. I hadn't heard of the brand up until I got to Manila on that trip, and I stayed at a buddy's house, and he's like, "Help yourself." There's rum on top of the fridge. This guy had 6 bottles of Don Papa on top of his fridge.
All right.
I was like, cool, I got to try this. So boom. Anyways, yeah. So that was my first time trying Don Papa right off the plane into Manila, and ended up meeting AJ at a Don Papa event in Manila, and we stayed friends over the years. Yeah.
Super good, dude.
So this is what I mean about just hearing your stories. This is what I mean about you guys. You got your ears to the street, know what's happening in the bar world. You know, this whole Filipino movement that you guys were part of in New York, that's yet to happen out here in LA.
It's weird.
Okay,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like, yeah, I mean, all I'm gonna say, I feel like New York, that the 2000s and 2010s in New York was a weird time because, you know, as like such a lighthouse market, as such a huge market in terms of volume, and this is me now understanding sort of how the brand side works, how the supplier side works, and what people want to see. You know, it was cool in a lot of ways because, I mean, everybody wanted to be in like the coolest, best new places, or not even new places, but just the places that were relevant, right? And brands, you know, the liquor industry was doing great, and people, there was money to be spent. I remember, I mean, Tomas took me to Scotland for the first time, but, you know, and not to get to self-aggrandize or anything, but there was a period of time, you know, I was like when I was really finding my voice, I was doing a lot. I was making sure I was out. I was doing all the things. I was here. I was there. I was getting all these big consulting gigs, and I was getting flown to bartend
globally. This
all over, yeah.
This guy's been around
country to country
globally.
to country, which was, I'm super grateful for. But again, if I hadn't had those experiences with you initially, I don't know that I would have been like equipped to handle all that stuff. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I could speak candidly about you. I mean, candidly about what was going on with you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because like we were friends already at that point, and so like, we could talk about like, oh yeah, I mean, of course it helped that like your portfolio was super great, and I love the stuff that was there, but like, just how these things work, like, because from the top of the chain to like every single bar and restaurant that stocks these things or sells any product, it's a lot.
But I guess what I mean is like, you guys had Maharlika and you guys had Jeepney and you guys were doing these interesting things with all the bars that you were working with as well. But like, what are our Filipino-owned bars out here?
There's Kevin up in San Francisco. He has
I'm talking about like, because I'm a SoCal guy,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Buen's like 1961.
Yeah, but that's not really. That's
bars.
they're kind of their own thing. You know what I mean? When I'm talking about like today's cocktail landscape, you have Jennifer.
Oh yeah.
Jennifer.
They're killing it.
Yeah,
they're killing it. But
killing it.
They're also like, I mean, who else is doing it? And they're a gin bar.
Yeah.
Well,
that's also kind of its own thing.
That's true. But the Philippines is one of those things people sleep on it. But in terms of volume,
this is what I mean. Like, I would love to see that and be part of that down here in LA.
Mm-hmm.
See that like we had Mam Sir that didn't make it through pandemic.
I love that.
Yeah,
and they
Charles was definitely killing it.
Yeah,
he had
Charles
a
was killing
great program.
Food was great.
Yeah,
and
it was a hot spot.
And they were doing some good cocktails there.
Oh, they were great cocktails. Yeah.
I mean, the pandemic, you can't hold anyone. I mean, I closed my bar during pandemic, and I was. I mean, I'm
not holding anybody.
Like,
I'm just saying that like it's unfortunate that the pandemic did what it did.
But I think you see it. I feel like I mean, there's a lot of Phil-Am young guns that are like doing a lot.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of talent.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent.
But the thing is, again, there's a big problem in our industry. There's not an enormous amount of mentorship. You know what I mean? Like I had these people in my life that I could talk to, right? Like talking to Tomas, talking to Shingo, but like in terms of like opening a business, there's not really a roadmap. You know what I mean? It's
I know.
And how many bars open just to close?
I just hear when I hear the stories about what you guys are saying that happened in New York. It's exciting. Mm-hmm. I just wish some of that was happening here.
Yeah,
I think we'll see it pretty soon.
There's definitely. I mean, the Filipino food movement.
Maynard's restaurant's fucking killing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Might
have started out there.
I'm talking about. He's not a bar though.
But I mean,
he's working on it.
Next bottle.
Oh, is he really?
Is going to have a.
Ideally, ideally he would have a bar with his restaurant.
Okay.
But his brick and mortar is still new.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy to think he's done. They've gotten all these awards. They've done all this stuff. Like
it's crazy,
and they've only been open for like half a year. It's like since the beginning of summer is when they open, right?
It's crazy.
And like, he's on all of these lists. He's on the Time Out Best Restaurants list. He's on
101
LA Weekly.
Yeah.
They're killing because there's integrity to what they do. You know what I mean?
And it's just good.
It's so good, and it's
so good.
It's just good. So let's shout him out. So
Kuya Lord, guys.
For all of our listeners that don't know, Kuya Lord, Kuyalord, right there in the heart of LA.
Fire, super good.
Yeah.
Order everything.
Yeah,
which we did the last time we were there.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
So,
but you have to try his lechon.
Yeah.
We did, right?
We did.
We got
for
some,
sure.
Yeah.
That's the destination. I mean,
also don't sleep on dessert. Man, everything they do there.
Yeah,
is so fun.
everything.
Yeah.
We gotta go back, dude.
Oh yeah,
we gotta go back. Yeah. So
I want to go.
Yeah. So do I. Well, so I hate to cut this short. We've reached the 1 hour mark.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we just gotten through intros.
I know, right? We just got through intros. But we will continue this into our videos. So if you guys are listening to this podcast, check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Polynesian Pop. Polynesian Pop. I know Filipinos are Austronesian. Mm-hmm. So why Polynesian Pop, right?
Well, there's like a conflict. Or what is I think Austronesians inform that entire. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
Well, I'll tell you why I use
stuff,
Polynesian Pop. So I use Polynesian Pop because we had this pop art movement, and then we had the Polynesian pop art movement. Right? The pop art movement was Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, Keith Haring, right? But then in conjunction with that, which went largely unnoticed, there was the Polynesian pop art movement. It happened at the same time, right? 50s, 60s. And it was all the Polynesian themed stuff, right? And if you watch my lecture, largely influenced by the Filipino immigrants. So I use the term Polynesian pop to remind people, to throw them out there, that would not exist without the Filipino immigrants that were a part of that. So, plus sounds better than Austronesian pop. But, so that's Polynesian pop. YouTube.com/Polynesian pop. We're going to do some cocktail videos right now. And if you guys are listening to this, you can also check the description. I'm going to put the links down there for the videos that we record. And we're going to talk a little bit more about cocktails here. We're going to have some stuff made with Don Papa from our friends at Don Papa. So you're not going to want to miss that. So
stay tuned, y'all.
Let's throw out all of the social medias for you guys, for all of our listeners, if people want to follow you on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff.
Okay.
After your career.
All right, you can find me on the Instagrams at Tomas Moves, TOMASMOVES.
He's the most stylish one on Instagram, by the way.
Oh.
When I saw this guy for the first time, I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna look like a bum next to this guy. It's so stylish, everybody.
And you know what? The bumming that you style,
the bumming that I style
is stylish. You're a stylish bum. It's okay.
I always think like, is Tomas gonna be there? Shit.
Oh man.
So all right, Ben, what about you?
On Instagram, it's just my name, Ben Rojo, BenRojo. You can follow us if you want to find out more stuff about what we're doing with Don Papa. There's our global account that's Don Papa Rum, and then we have a new channel that we're launching to really hone in on more of the stuff that me and Tomas and the rest of our team here in the States are working on. It's Don Papa Rum _
No, it's dot. Is it
dot
US?
.us.
.us. Yeah.
Underscore.
Yeah, I know. It's new. It's new.
Okay, my bad. So it's Don Papa Rum
.us.
Yeah.
DONPAPARUM.US.
There you go. All right, thanks for being on the show, you guys. For all of our listeners out there, like I said, check out the YouTube for the videos. If you want to help support the show, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Polynesian pop. We put out exclusive videos on there as well. So the stuff that you see on Patreon, you will not see on the YouTube. You will not hear on the podcast. Well, actually, you will, because you get all that as well. But you will also see stuff there and hear stuff there that you won't get otherwise. And if you're a Patreon subscriber/member, you get Frontline privileges for all kinds of stuff, for the tiki mugs and the room parties and all that kind of stuff. Because I know we're doing room parties again this year together. So if you're a Patreon, you're in. And if you're not, you're going to have to find somebody who can help you out with that. That's right. The private parties are fun. Last year, we did a nice party with our friend that won Tropical Shakedown.
Oh, Sonny, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Sonny, who won a spot at Tiki Oasis, was our personal bartender who's mixing up just the best cocktails. His award-winning cocktail, and it almost ran out during that party.
Wait, what's Sonny's home bar called again?
Oh, the Socialist.
He's at the Socialist.
Out in Long Beach.
And then we had Joey Bernardo, another
another Filipino bartender.
So Joey, let's shout him out. So he's at Broken Shaker these days, right? But prior to that, he was at Harvard and Stone.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude, for a while. I think
for a long time,
almost a decade.
Well, apparently he still has shifts everywhere. So apparently he's the one guy in LA that can clock in to work a shift anywhere in LA. He works everywhere.
So there you go. So, all right. So we're going to wrap this one up until the next time. Cheers, aloha, and mabuhay.
Mabuhay.